Hey guys, Mahboob here from Muscle House Gym. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how to have a healthy relationship. We'll be looking at three areas. The first one is how confidence is lost and gained in your relationship, setting some rules, and also, last but not least, identifying behavior patterns. I'm not going to go through those exact order. It'll be random orders, but these are the sort of things we'll be looking at in today's video. The first one I'll bring to your attention is this. How is confidence lost in a relationship? Well, first of all, it starts off with trust and respect, or love and respect. Those two elements need to be hand in hand, because if there is no trust, there is no love, there is no respect, then it's going to be very, very difficult to work to make your relationship healthy. But it doesn't mean to say it cannot become a healthy relationship. It just means that it's going to require a lot more work. You cannot have love, you cannot have respect if they're not there in the first place. You have to build them up. When you go into a new relationship, you start on a good note, but then after time, it starts to get bitter. It starts to get you start to become impatient with one another. But that shouldn't be the case. The case should be, once you come together, you want to work together and keep continually grow. And this is how a relationship becomes healthy. You must invest time and effort and dedication to growth, because if you don't, then there's no point in being in a relationship. Because the whole idea is to go through life side by side with one another, to help each other to excel and to move forwards. So that being said, let's identify behavior patterns. Now, you want respect, you want love from your partner, but what actions are you doing? What is your behavior signaling to the other person? So I'll give you an example. Maybe how you communicate could be the case where you're screaming, you're shouting, you're raising your voice. And once this been said and done, on the person who's on the receiving end may not like what they're hearing. You may be saying something good, but it's the mannerisms, the way that you're carrying that message to the other person, that could be an off-put. It can be very, very off-putting. The whole idea is to use tact. You must use tact in communication, because if you don't use tact and you're just ranting and screaming and shouting your point of view, it's not going to get through. You have to use tact, and this is the thing I'm trying to bring to your attention. And also back to identifying your behavior patterns. How do you react? How do you respond as soon as you get into a disagreement? You know, do you blow up and do you start screaming, shouting and yelling? And then does the dynamics between them two, you and your partner, you end up shouting and screaming and yelling at each other, and that doesn't really help the situation. And you cannot establish boundaries, you cannot establish rules and regulations, because every single relationship needs rules and regulations to govern each other. You are accountable to each other, because if you're not accountable to each other, outside vices can interfere in your relationship and break it. You have to guard your relationship because it's precious. You cannot let outside influences interfere in your relationship. It has to be something that is very private, that is very secretive amongst you and your spouse, so it can thrive. You must look for ways to sort things out. Acknowledge, yes, my partner has a different point of view, a different way of seeing things, but respect at the same time. But the question is, you have a different way of seeing things, your partner has a different way of seeing things. How do you come together? How do you work it out? And this is through trial and error. This is where your listening skills comes in handy. This is where your patience comes in handy. I'll give you an example. Your spouse is talking to you, and you're getting very impatient, and it's showing on your facial expressions. Hold back and acknowledge what's happening to your body. Feel what's happening to your emotions. Am I getting heated up? Can I feel myself boiling up? Or do I just calm and have open ears? I'm listening with understanding, not listening just to say, yep, okay, I get what you're saying, and now it's my turn to say what I need to say. That doesn't solve the situation. Yeah, so you want to have attentive listening, engaging listening. What does that mean? So it means you try to understand from the place that they're coming from. Try to acknowledge, try to put yourself to the side and give them the space, give them the time to hear, to listen to what they have to say. Hold back from your views, from your judgments, from your opinions. Yeah, these are the sort of things that you have to do to gain respect, to gain trust, to gain love. Because once you're able to exercise these things frequently, then love can be gained, respect can be gained, And then this is when you start putting in boundaries. Boundaries in terms of looking after each other. So, so I'll give you an example. Putting in boundaries in place in terms of free mixing. Putting some boundaries in place of, no, you're on the phone for too long with this other person. I don't like that. Boundaries in terms of not disrespecting me in front of the children, for example. Like, so these are sort of boundaries that need to be put in place. And the only way that you and your spouse are going to agree to this is if there is love and respect. So these are the sort of things that I'm trying to bring to your attention, folks. It's just about identifying your behavior patterns, your current behavior patterns, and the type of response they're causing. Now, if it's something negative, then you need to tweak your behaviors. And that's a two-way thing. It's not just on you, it's also on your partner as well. If you really want the relationship to work, you need to do these things. You need to acknowledge your own faults, your own behavior patterns, the way you respond, the way that you react. Yeah, that's the first thing. Acknowledge your own behavior patterns. And everything is going to require work, it's going to require time. But I promise you, in the end, it'll be worth it. Because if you don't do this, if you don't put in the work now, all you're going to be doing is jumping from one relationship to another, to another, to another, and you're going to be reacting the same way day in, day out. And then what's going to happen is that you're going to devalue the essence of what a relationship is meant to be. You know, there's so many people out there jumping from one relationship to another, to another, to another, but at the end of the day, they become bitter, they become distrustful, they become disloyal, and they cannot even maintain a healthy relationship. Work on the one that you have now, as long as your partner feels the same way in terms of, yes, I want to stay in this relationship, I want to commit to it. It might be difficult at first, but I definitely want this relationship to improve, and I definitely want to stick at it in the long run. So that is one. So the first thing is to identify your behavior patterns, like I said before, and then once you're able to work, you've identified your behavior patterns, your reactions and your responses, you work at it, and then after you start setting in boundaries, rules for the relationship, because everything needs to be governed, it needs to be policed, because the reason why that you're doing this is to protect and preserve the relationship. That's why boundaries are so important. You set boundaries with the children, you set boundaries in your workplace, there's boundaries everywhere. Why? Because it helps regulate things sufficiently. And the same thing that you have to apply in your relationship. You have to respect each other's boundaries. But that cannot be acknowledged or done unless there is first of all trust and respect and love. So the final point I want to bring to your attention is this. All of those things that I have said can bring confidence into your relationship if they're practiced, if they're exercised. And what destroys the relationship is the opposite. It's when you react harshly. It's when you respond harshly. It's when you don't look to improve the situation. It's when you are so engrossed in your way of thinking being right all the time. Your way of thinking in terms of trying to control the situation. In your way of thinking in terms of like their opinions don't matter. Their ways of thinking don't matter. As long as I get to say my point of view, that's all that matters. If it's like that, it's not going to work. You have to be more productive and look for a way of trying to save the relationship. You don't want a relationship that's just surviving. You want a relationship that's thriving. And what you have to do, you have to put in the work. It's not going to be easy. I'm telling you, it's not going to be easy. But there are fruits at the end of your labor. So people, that is my perspective for today. Keep tuning in for more up and coming materials. Until then, take care, stay strong, stay focused. And I will see you next time on the next video. Bye for now.